Guys, who? Oh. Guys!
Look, if you're like me, Stage 1 might as well have been 2 years ago, even though it was only 2 months. But that's a long time with no siege. So if you need to catch up, here's how North America fared last stage. Cruelty knocked off M80 that one time.
It's all done!
And Envy was the only team to almost beat SR.
It's match point for Envy.
But both the New Bloods only combined for 3 wins total, including when Cruelty beat Envy on the last day. It's not uncommon for rookie teams to struggle when they make the league, but nothing they did was enough to avoid 9th and 10th. And because the NAL was so top-heavy last stage, Cloud9 and Orgulus just got left in the dust. The C9 project didn't make substantial progress until the final week of the stage, when it was too late. And Orgulus had struggles from the jump they just couldn't overcome to make playoffs. Goes to show how tough it is to make headway in this league. M80 got the band back together and looked a lot like their old selves. 7-0ing Oxygen.
7-0, it's in hand!
Dumpstering SSG.
M80 are just speedrunning this first map.
Giving Envy their first loss, but they also dropped a game to Cruelty, couldn't figure out how to beat SR, and lost to SSG anyway.
Base Station will steal M80's map.
Unpredictable as always, but next step for Fabian and company is getting better than 6th next time. Wildcard were in 5th place at the end of last season, and they were in 5th place here too. The Baby Shark Maya plan didn't pay off quite like they'd hoped, but they played the hand they were dealt and got a roster with 2 new imports into the bracket.
Oh, and oh my goodness, a shotgun blast from Dash.
Even got a win over Space Station once they got there. And we had no clue what Oxygen was going to look like, but there's just too much talent on that team to fail. They beat the bottom teams in the round robin, which was good enough for playoffs, and beat Wildcard to snag a top 4 spot.
It is the best Oxygen have looked.
And it was almost a top 3 spot. And when you can do that having lost more rounds than you won, there's an achievement for that somewhere.
For the guys.
Shopify Rebellion had the perfect round robin. No losses in the best of ones, the most rounds won, the best KD. They were incredible. They just couldn't put the pieces together in playoffs. But we knew good things would happen when you put Spoid and Canadian together, and getting 3rd place in their first stage, that's already nuts. Dark Zero had a 7-game win streak in the round robin, got revenge on SR in the playoffs, and had the best attacks of any team in the NAL.
It is smooth sailing into the grand final.
They switched up a lot before the season began, but they looked like monsters again.
Kenny getting excited, getting the players in the game.
There's just one problem. They were 2nd place again.
Wait.
Let's go, guys.
Go, boys.
Way to bring that.
Because Space Station made a generational run. Take a few losses in the round robin,
It's blocked the angle! Boyd might be able to defuse in time!
no problem, 3rd place. Lose the first playoff game, no problem, lower bracket run. Your old rivals in the grand final, no problem, 7-1 on the last map. They turned the thrusters on when they needed it the most, and they are Stage 1 champions. But Stage 2 might be totally different, because it's North America, and anything goes.
Well, the days are getting shorter, the air just a little cooler, and that familiar crunch of leaves is back. That can only mean one thing. Fall is upon us, and with it, another stage of the NAL. Welcome back, everybody, to the North American League. This is Stage 2. So glad to have you with us. I'm Jonas Willinger, and alongside me, bringing you guys coverage all stage long, 16 years of pro experience combined. It is Laxing and Fox 8. Gents, I may have been pushing it, admittedly, with the fall thing. I think fall starts officially in a couple of weeks, but you seem like a guy who likes fall. You know, you're always bundled up. You're always ready to go.
I mean, unironically, you know, I'm from Minnesota. I actually do really enjoy fall. I already changed all the decor. I'm one of those people, you know, when you go into Target or something like that, they already have the fall stuff out 6 months in advance. I'm always hyped for that, so I'm already set for Halloween. And ironically enough, I saw your notes. You were using orange and black, so I think
Orange
you're
and black
pretty
marker.
excited for Halloween.
That sounds like a little bit of sarcasm. Do you not respect the people who put their Halloween decorations up like a little in
Pumpkin
advance?
spice right away the
Listen,
moment the
pumpkin
fall hits.
spice.
I got some pumpkin spice stuff early on, so I'm pretty set.
I got ghouls and goblins in my yard and everything, you know. But that's downtown LA for you.
Very nice. With a new season comes a new season of Siege. It is Operation High Stakes, introducing the new operator Denari into competitive play, bringing with him his trip connectors into the mix as well.
You know, we already said Siege X was going to be a new look at how Siege is going to be approached and reinventing that wheel, changing the dynamic of play. And then when you look at an operator like Denari, and in terms of his kit that he brings, I mean, he's already making a makeshift kite out of lasers. You can't do that with Aruni. You can't do that with Capcan. So the level and depth of play that Denari now brings with his trip connectors, it's going to be very interesting to see what that not only looks like in pro play, but even in your rank setup.
Oh, depth is the best way to put it because you can do so much with it. You're not limited to just having it on a certain doorway like a Rooney or having to put it on limited positions. And the most difficult and unique part about it is you can cover multiple doorways, multiple windows, multiple positions with the trip connectors. And not only that, but they go through floors, they go through walls. You can have them in such difficult angles to deal with for an attacking team that it adds a whole new avenue. I mean, look right there where the attackers, you know, some people will just say, I mean, just shoot it, just throw something through it. And you can't because they're in such unique positions.
I mean, not just that. Look, he's a 7-speed. We've never seen that in Siege. I mean,
He's
look how
running
fast
fast.
he's throwing those and moving around the map. Obviously, that's a joke. It's clearly sped up. But no, it's going to be very interesting to see what he brings to the table.
Well, with that creativity, it's definitely going to be an asset for the defensive side. Did have to buff, or rather nerf things a little bit to even things out on defense. We removed some ACOG scopes from a few different operators.
Yeah, I would say the big three that clearly stick out for me, at least from a pro player standpoint, is definitely going to be Castle, Frost, and Goyo. They bring a lot of util to these setups on defense. Now you can't play those aggressive angles that we've seen some players used to be able to make. Now you're going to have to get a little more, maybe closer, maybe more, you know, squint your eyes a little harder to maybe see those pixel shots. So I think in that regard, removing those ACOGs are definitely going to impact some defenses, maybe not so much. I am curious to see if teams still pivot to bring those, or they just make it work using one of the other sites.
Yeah, those three are also the most mobile. But for me, as a ranked player, I love being able to see Doc and Rook lose their ACOGs because it's just so frustrating when you're just trying to solo queue and you go up against that one dude always on Doc hiding in a corner. So I'm thankful that he got the ACOG removed.
Well, heading from stage 1 into stage 2, we got to take a moment to think about what happened in between. We sent 4 teams to an international stage, to the Esports World Cup, where we saw some back and forth, some up and down with the NA representation. The biggest standout, Fox, that was SSG.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, SSG solidifying their #1 team in NA, not only in the region, but they go to an event and they place top 4. They look like the best team all around from North America. And if it wasn't for them going against Secret's hot run, you know, we could have seen SSG in that finals. And they played really well on all cylinders. The teamwork from them was the deciding aspect of why they were so dominant.
OXG were also a pretty good team at EWC. Sure, their expectations weren't that high, but it did look like a team that was returning to its old form.
I mean, I gotta say, it was completely surprising. The last time you would even think Oxygen was gonna be relevant was back when me and Fox played. So the fact that we're seeing this already now so early on with this new iteration, we weren't sure what they were gonna look like during the stage, but then they made the stage happen. They clenched that spot, and then even going into further EWC, they looked like a night and day difference teams, and you want to also see that international level being displayed. And the fact that, again, this is happening so early on just leads me to believe getting this stage started, we're gonna see an entirely different look out of Oxygen.
Well, the biggest surprise of EWC was DZ, kind of the biggest letdown as well. They had a very good performance within the region, but then they go to the Esports World Cup and they just cannot perform at the level we expected. They got grouped.
Yeah, they did. I mean, and it was such a shock because obviously they had such a blowout game against FaZe. They were able to take that win away, but then back-to-back losses. I mean, it just looked so bad. 7-1 against VP and then losing a Weibo Gaming. I mean, it was just a situation where it's not where Dark Zero should be, and I feel like teams really got an understanding of how to play against them now that they've been able to break apart the Spirit's entry. You focus on him, the rest of the team just does not have a response.
Shopify, the last team that was on the international stage with NA, it was fine, right? They didn't show us a lot. They did make playoffs. They did lose in that first round, though. Any big takeaways from them?
I would say, honestly, it really comes down to the best threes. I mean, we clearly saw them in the regular stage. They went flawless. Then it came to playoffs. They couldn't get it done. Sure, it was enough to get them to EWC, but same thing there. They did it flawlessly throughout all the group stage. Then once they got into those best threes is where they crumbled. So I don't know if it's a matter of endurance. I don't know if it's a matter of pressure. I really don't know what it is because, again, on paper and just looking at how well SR plays, they really should be placing even higher than the other teams that were there.
Well, with EWC now in the rearview mirror, the same 10 teams from Stage 1 will now be fighting for the Munich Major, the international event coming up in November. Only one small change to this roster of 10 teams. Orgless is now known as Standby LFO. They are still Orgless, lacking just a bit of a rebrand.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I like the rebrand. Whoever made that logo, I actually do like it. It looks a lot better than just saying Orgless or LFO. So happy for them. Obviously, I would like to see them have more representation and getting organization underneath their belt. But still, I mean, they have the experience from now, Stage 1. They can implement everything going into Stage 2, and they're under a new name, even if it's the one that they created. So I'm excited to see big things coming from them.
Well, out of our 50 roster spots, it wasn't 50 returning players, only 46. We did see a couple of small changes and maybe one bigger change. We'll start with Cruelty here because they had, well, a roster that was okay. They fought their way out of 10th place, and they got rid of two pretty big names on that roster, Skimzy and Ivan, joining Caden and Rovi, throwing them into the mix.
Yeah, obviously it's a surprise maybe seeing Ivan go down. I'd say he was one of the better players on the team. Skimzy makes a lot of sense. He struggled in the last stage. Just goes to show, you know, performance does matter at a certain distance, even if the team is performing bad, but it's not all on one player. So obviously they go for the two. They get Caden and Rovi. They have a little bit of T2 experience. They're coming in to bring a little bit more firepower and focus on the aspects that Cruelty was succeeding on last stage, which is their attacks.
Well, Laxing, the other team that made a small change, Envy, is a team that promised us we aren't going to make any changes this stage, and they go ahead and they get rid of Twist. They bring on Aiden.
I mean, I had a feeling the second I saw that tweet or the second JJ said, we aren't making any changes, we're sticking it through and through. I mean, something had to clearly change. You got last place in the stage. I mean, Aiden being swapped out for Twist, I would have liked to see this roster stay together, give it another go, similar to what LFO or Standby now we're calling them should have been doing. But I am curious to see what Aiden can bring. He clearly played with Stompin'. We see how well Stompin' is doing. I don't think he's necessarily going to be that catalyst or that, you know, player that Stompin' is. But hey, I could be proven wrong. We just have to wait and find out.
Well, one team that we also need desperately to see how this is going to shake up is Cloud9. Maybe the biggest blockbuster move of the stage. They get rid of their IGL Packer, who they played with for just over a stage, Fox, and they bring on Hat in his place.
Yeah, it was a really big question mark because I think both me and Lax can agree when it comes down to needing a voice for the team, a leader that everyone follows. Packer was that leader, and he's still learning. So obviously to get rid of him so soon is not necessarily a decision that you'd want to make.
I mean, I can't look at that roster as a whole and just be like, yeah, Packer was the problem. Packer was the one that needed to go. And again, there were many plays where Packer, I think he was in the right moment. He just didn't understand it, where I think giving another stage underneath his belt, keeping everyone in the same roles would make more sense. But removing that vocal point and bringing on a player that isn't going to be vocal in that sense, I can't really see that this is going to end really well for Cloud9 in the long run.
And me personally, as a viewer, I felt like the biggest issue for Cloud9, besides, you know, little things, was their firepower. I mean, Kobe was the only player that was above, you know, positive in KD, and he wasn't even above double digits. Now, when you look at that, you want to be able to maybe substitute somebody for a firepower player, somebody to be able to go toe-to-toe with Kobe in the stat sheet. And I just don't know if Hat is that player that is going to be able to be topping the charts. I mean, we saw his performance on OXG, a lot of up and downs. So obviously risking to drop your IGL and not getting the reward factor of that Slayer that they needed so desperately puts them in a position where, you know, it just looks like all negatives. And now you're forcing somebody like Dream or Silent to take on that IGL role, which we've seen from Luminosity and OXG. They did not have success being the main IGLs of those rosters. So that'll be something we'll have to see them change going into C9.
Operation High Stake.
Yeah,
high stakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Throwing it all down, seeing what they can come up with. We'll get a chance to see Cloud9 go toe-to-toe with Dark Zero very quickly into this play day to see, well, if those changes made sense. That'll be the third match of the day. We'll also get a fun one towards the end. Laxing, that's Team Cruelty and Envy, the battle of those two last place teams that we saw on the last day of the group stage. Last stage, we'll see that here on day one.
Yeah, I think we're hyping up that last one a little too much. I don't think anyone's winning that game like, yeah, I told you I was 9th place, or we should have been 9th place. But if I am looking forward to a game the most, it's definitely the Space Station first standby. One, obviously, I do believe Space Station will win that game, but I am very curious to see what standby is going to bring to the table. And like I said, learning from their shortcomings from stage 1 and now implementing all of those into stage 2.
Now, hold on. I'm pretty excited for the battle of the bottoms. I mean, I'm excited to see Cruelty and Envy play with the change that they've made, because obviously both teams had some good life to show in stage 1. Now they've made changes to better that. If they can start it off hot with a very decisive win, it puts one of those teams in a position where they have momentum, which neither of them had at last stage.
That fourth game as well, a little bit of interesting action there, because the last time M80 and Oxygen faced off in the group stage, it was a 7-0. The only 7-0 we saw all of last stage, a 7-0 M80 taking that one.
Yeah, I mean, I want to chalk that up to just Oxygen. I mean, one, it was on Skyscraper. You should have never lost even really a single defense. But that wasn't the same Oxygen that we saw at the later end of the stage, let alone going into EWC. So I can't really imagine that when we get to that matchup, it's going to be a 7-0 coming out of M80. I personally think Oxygen will most likely win that. So early prediction.
All right, well, we'll get a chance to see a little bit more of those predictions in just a bit. It's Shopify Rebellion and Wildcard. That'll be our very first game of the stage, and we'll have that in just a few minutes. Before we get there, though, yours truly invaded the Fantasy League, and we had to get new teams picked and all that squared away for Stage 2. So Jesse is going to take us through that now.
The NAL Fantasy League is back, and in Stage 2, it's bigger and better than ever before. We've expanded the roster to include our very own Jonas Willinger, who will be duking it out with all of our 6 returning players. We've also upped the stakes, adding a first place prize and a last place punishment, which will both be dealt out during the NAL Finals at the end of the season. While the point system remains the same, rosters did not carry over from Stage 1, which means we've got a whole new draft to run through and everyone has a chance to win it in Stage 2. Jonah got the first overall pick, and he chose to run with the Swedish superstar, Spoit. That was then followed up with Benja, Newers, Yaga, and Dream to create the ultimate fan-favorite super team. Our European host started her draft with a European duo, grabbing Citizen second overall and selecting DC's captain Nafe not long after. She then rounded out the rest of her team with Surf, Pyrox, and Fens. The reigning NAL Fantasy champion XR Troika has been reunited with Dash, who will be hoping to repeat gold alongside Gunner, Spiker, Hot and Cold, and Eddie. Intero took a shotgun approach to the draft, starting by grabbing Pambazoo in the first round, and then getting a mix of slept-on talent and high-potential underdogs to finish his team with Silent, Kobilax, Fatal, and Kixro. Lynx lost the championship last stage due to a huge final week from Ambi, and Lynx wasn't about to let that happen again, selecting Ambi in the very first round. Adding J9O, Kansan, False, and Bay to the team has created a new roster for Lynx that once again will be gunning for the top spot. Laxing has gone from the LATAM roster to the G team, creating a squad of Giddy, Gomez, Grixer, Gaveni, and Gavin's teammate Diffuser. With this team, Laxing hopes to grab the gold, or at least get away from the garbage. Finally, we have Foxe, who started with a strong draft, snagging Rexon, Ashen, NJR, and Spirits. But for the last overall pick, Fox took a risk, grabbing Team Envy's newest rookie, Aiden, to complete his team. And thus, the stage is set. Over the next 4 weeks, one talent will rise above the rest to be crowned champion. And to find out who that will be, all you've got to do is keep watching the best siege in North America, right here on the NAL.
Stage 2, Day 1, Match number 1. And the best part, we get to see if Shopify Rebellion can keep up that group stage magic from Stage 1. Welcome back, everybody, to the NAL. I'm Jonas Willinger. Joining me, as always, are Foxe and Laxing as we dive into our first game of the day, Shopify Rebellion and Wildcard. And the truth of it is, Laxing, if you want to go 9-0, if you want to go flawless, That's got to start right now with a win.
It's definitely got to start right now. And thankfully, SR, they have the win over Wildcard throughout the regular stage, last stage, winning 7-5 on Cafe. So if I'm Wildcard, maybe you avoid Cafe. But for Wildcard, they also had hurdles that they had to overcome throughout the stage where they did look significantly better going into playoffs. But it really starts now. No excuses. Everyone's in the same team house. I want to see it today.
Well, there was no big secret to Shopify's success last stage. Everybody was playing lights out. They had the leadership of Canadian, of course, but they also had some crazy firepower coming from Spoit and Ambi.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that they weren't really tested. I mean, when it came to the entries, Spoit and Ambi were not being challenged. Every single game that they'd be able to go in, they got their frags, put their team in the best position possible, and that's what we saw them consistently do. They were able to just win rounds before the game really went through. But then when we got to EWC, that's where we saw them taper off a little bit, and a lot of the success still was on the shoulders of Ambi and Spoit, because if they weren't able to get those opening kills, put their team in the best position possible, that's where we would see Shopify struggle, and that's why we didn't see Shopify perform to the likes that we expected.
Well, this team, as we said, has had a lot of success, and at this point are really just trying to make some small tweaks, really refine this into not just a winning formula domestically, but internationally as well. Fox, is there anything that stands out to you as something they still can fix? Any glaring mistakes?
Absolutely. I mean, it may be a little bit of a hot take, but I think it comes down to Canadian. It's not on the shoulders of the entries. It comes down to your leader, because when it comes to Canadian, it's not necessarily about how he performs specifically. It's about how he leads his team. But the way that Shopify Rebellion is set up is once the entries get their kills, Canadian is usually put in the position of clutching with Rex and with Surf. And that's what maybe we shouldn't see going into stage 2. I'd like to see a little bit of a change, because the best Shopify Rebellion we've ever seen is when Canadian is either still alive to call for all of his teammates that are also alive, or when he dies first and he's able to really spearhead this approach, the captain of the ship. So seeing him on that Monty like we usually do, we find success. If he's not on that shield, where do we see Canadian? Either in the alone in the end in the clutch, or in a position where he's still alive but his teammates are dead. So if we can see him maybe transition from a supportive role, not just on the Monty, but seeing him maybe more on the front lines, an entry, a flex player, so that if he goes 1-for-1 dies, he's still putting his team in the best position possible, as opposed to taking that position in the late round from Spoit or Ambi.
And I think where we really even saw that exploited was even in the start of playoffs when they experienced their first loss versus M80 on that Chalet matchup. What M80 did really well was negating anything that Troy was trying to put out, whether it was from the shields, whether it was even from an IGL perspective and being able to call, they shut that down. Granted, they did get that win, but teams do understand that. And when you look at all the other top IGLs within this region, they all perform at least on a kill-to-kill basis compared to Troy's. And it's not to say that Troy can't get a kill. It's not to say that it doesn't have the mechanics for it. But for me, if Troy can just get 1 or 2 extra kills in some of these rounds, that will significantly propel SR's chances of winning at a much faster pace than we've seen before. So for me, with Troy, and like you were saying, I think if he does move to a role that you're talking about like that, I think we can maybe see more of an influx of better statistical rounds coming out from Troy and from the team as a whole.
Well, the Rebellion's opponents today, Wildcard, did not have a flawless group stage. Very different than that, Laxing. They started very slow last stage.
No, they definitely started very slow last stage, and don't get me wrong, there were definitely some reasons as for that. As we know, Baby Shark and Dash weren't at the team house like the rest of the players were. They used that as, excuse. They said in scrims, they would play really well in scrims, then come match day, they don't know what would happen. Now, all of that's all under the bridge. Now, everything needs to be perfect here going forward.
And it's best of 1, so everything needs to be perfect, not just on the stage, but immediately. Every single match, every single day, you got to come out firing on all cylinders, something that it's tough for young players like Baby Shark to acclimatize to pretty quickly.
For sure. And, I want to give Baby Shark more of just kind of like a slap on the wrist for stage 1. That, it was his first stage, first time playing in the NAL, trying to understand that, getting underneath his belt. The one player I'm really looking at in specific here is more so of Dash. Dash is that tenured player. He won a major event. He knows what it takes. He knows the pressure that comes with best of 1s. Not only that, but going into best of 3s. And where we saw Dash really excel was during reload, especially on those shields, using that Blackbeard to create that headway, make that space, really be that push that Wildcard needs, especially on those attacks. That's where we saw him falter throughout the beginning of last stage, is he couldn't find success anywhere, whether that was on attack, whether that was on defense, but especially in a best of one, like you just said, everything needs to be perfect. So if we really want to see Wildcard at a far better start and have a far better pace, it really is going to come off of a player like Dash, specifically on that attacking side and utilizing him where he should be, and it's on those shields and being that spearhead.
Well, first game of the stage. Got to figure out where this one's going to go. Really how we can set the tone for this one, Fox, because we saw pretty much every map you could see last stage and a good bit of variety, but a lot of lair, a lot of labs, a lot of border. Where are we going for this one?
I mean, I think if you're Wildcard, you're going to one of the consistents, either a club, cafe, maybe even skyscraper. But yeah, we'd hope that they'd ban skyscraper. I mean, club's going to come out as a ban. Chalet's going to come out as a ban for Wildcard. They're banning some of their own maps to leave it up to border, which is a complete Wildcard of a map for Wildcard. I mean, it's not a map that I expect a team like Wildcard to be a slower team to want to take Shopify to, but it is one of the more even maps where you can catch teams off guard. So if they can fight Spoiled and Ambi head on that entry, Wildcard, that's what they're going to be going for. Very aggressive, very stopping Shopify Rebellion in their track.
Have they played this map before?
They have not played this map yet. They didn't play it in the regular stage. They also didn't play it in playoffs. So this is definitely a Wildcard map for Wildcard to say. And again, it really is going to come on to Dash to come alive here, to be that spearhead, to be able to get into the building and allow the rest of the players to play off that. But on the side of SR, I mean, I wouldn't say this is necessarily a great map. When you look statistically in a lot of their matchups, a lot of those games came really close. One notably was that game versus M80 where Troy hit that insane pre-fire, ripping, I believe it was diffuser off the bomb, and then went for the diffuser after that. I mean, so even for this SR, I don't think they're going to be too comfortable on it, but again, I think there's going to be far more pressure on Wildcard to perform here and have a better result, and for SR to just play into their core fundamentals. And like I said, if we can see Troy just have a better performance out the gates, just getting, like I said, 1 or 2 extra kills in some of these rounds, I think it will just be a far better result for SR.
Yeah, you raise a good point, though, that this is not necessarily Rebellion's most comfortable map. They were down in that last game on border. We saw them play. They had to go for that crazy clutch to pull it out. Fox, do you think this is intentional from them? They leave border up. They want to go there and just deal with those mistakes they made right away and try to get another win? Absolutely.
I mean, I think Shopify's in the position where they're the confident team, as opposed to Wildcard. They could have played this either one of two ways: go to comfortability or take one of the top teams in the league to more of a risk of a map, but try things out. So it makes a lot of sense for both teams to want to end it on border. But I agree with Lag. I think it comes down to Shopify Rebellion. This is a perfect opportunity where I'd love to see Canadian get more involved quicker. And if he dies earlier on, that IGLing, that micromanaging is going to be so useful if he's the first one going down. On a map like Border, there's so many opportunities. If Canadian can just focus on using his brain, Shopify Rebellion should clear up those mistakes that we saw against M80.
Lax, do you think Wildcard have what it takes to win this? Do you think they might open up the stage with a win?
Absolutely, especially what we saw at the last bit of the stage. I mean, that game against Dark Zero went 7-5, 7-5. So it really could have went either way had they just fixed some small errors. But I will say I do have to pick SR just for this game, just because they had a flawless stage. And so far in best of ones, they've been pretty concrete across the board.
Yeah, Wildcard's in a position where, like we said, they're taking that risk to go to an uncomfortable map, trying to depth in their map pool. That was the biggest thing that was an issue last stage, is people knew the top 3 for Wildcard, you don't go there. Now, new map, it's a risk. Wildcard needs to prove it to us before we can have that faith that they're going to beat Shopify. So I think Shopify is going to take it.
All right, well, we got our predictions here on the desk. The last thing to do is actually get into our match. Before we do that, we got to get a couple more players in the lobby, so we're going to step aside for a short break. But it's our first game of the stage, and it starts right after this.
Well, we got to see a snippet of Border before everything came crashing down. So we'll go back into it and try to get round number 1 underway. There's a lot for us to talk about as we were transitioning out of that round into the talking that we were doing. We were discussing why teams like to play Border. You in particular were talking about a Goyo setup that is no longer happening. They were allowed to replay round number 1 with completely different operators. So as you can see, they made a bunch of changes on the side of Shopify Rebellion, so you're not going to be able to talk about operators that don't exist anymore, Jesse.
Well, that's okay, Parker, because there's a lot to talk about in this round as well. Shopify have actually changed the site completely. We're going down to events and workshop. Again, that's totally fine in the new rule set, so it's not going to be a problem. And they'll set things up a little sneakily. We've got Ambi on the Capcan, hoping to set up some of these traps, maybe get a little bit of damage, get a little bit of those picks. Surf up above as well, playing on that Solus. There's a lot of soft floorboards above the bomb site on this map, so having a Solus up above to stop any of the multitude of plant spots that you could see inside a workshop could be absolutely massive. Rexon on the Mira, we've got a Wamai, we've got a Kaid, all standard ops for this site, so really excited to see how Wildcard try to adjust to this. We probably will see that previous round 1 setup later in the match, but smart from Shopify to switch things up and not give Wildcard any extra time to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of putting a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation, right? You can keep going with what you had in the past, but obviously it's been flushed out and seen by Wildcard at this point, so you're going to have to go for something new, but it might not be the plan that you want, and you might not have a lot of time to make that pivot work, but when you're an experienced team, Canadian's ability in fragging might not be what it used to be, but his leadership potential is seemingly just as good as ever. So the team will be able to respond to that small hiccup in round number 1 and make things work here now. We talked a bit about how hard it is to get into the building, and Jesse, this does not seem to be much of an issue for Wildcard as they are potentially moments away from the first pick, but Ambi will shut down Kansan, and Shopify Rebellion comes out ahead with yet another kill, this time on the Baby Shark. A potential for Dash to keep numbers close, and he guns down Spoit, losing a bit of HP in the process. Now holding down that Black Mirror, staring down 90. Multiple players from Shopify Rebellion over towards that fountain area, and the Rebellion will simply wait out the remaining players of Wildcard, who greet them as Spiker takes matters into his own hands against Canadian.
And Surf drops just as Canadian takes that fight, so there's not going to be any chance of a trade. 3v3 now as the execute comes forward. Dash already in. Spiker has the defuse kit, and he's up above, so they're not going to commit to that push just yet, and Shopify hunting for picks still.
Ambi and Surf now doubling up in very short order, leaving Spiker alone upstairs with the case in hand, so not completely empty-handed. He's got a lot of work to do. You referenced how powerful a Solus can be with objective play, and Spiker's not really going to have much of a chance to get in there and try for that objective. 3 players from Shopify Rebellion will be eagerly awaiting his drop. Surf will get credited with the kill to pick up his second. And the Rebellion survive a bit of a scare here in round 1.
Yeah, we saw the real stars of Shopify Rebellion in stage 1 shining bright again. No kills from Spoit that round, but Ambi and Rexon starting things off really strong. Ambi in particular, he's just been so good. I mean, the best defensive player back in stage 1, now on defense again, doing it so well. Had a 1.80 KDR, starts it off 2-0 on this first match against Wildcard, so they're going to be feeling very nice about that. Top floor clear, just didn't quite go the way they wanted it to. They had the logic bomb flying through for that opening pick, walking in from Kansan. A little bit odd to see Kansan taking one of those entry engagements. Usually on Wildcard, that would be somebody like Bay or Baby Shark, where Kansan can kind of then come in late round to have a big impact, but unfortunately not able to find that opening frag. Shopify had the advantage, and from that point forward, it became quite difficult for Wildcard to get anything going, which was tough for their first round, but plenty to play for.
10 seconds left before insertion.
You see a map like Border, you expect these upstairs extensions,
5
and
seconds left.
bomb site is still down below. A bit of an interesting decision here to go to customs, Jesse. This is a bomb site that is very rarely seen and is not well loved by most teams. It's considered an extraordinary challenge to defend. I wonder what Shopify Rebellion have cooked up to pull this one off.
Yeah, custom supply. Shopify played this once in their match against M80, the only other time they've played it, played Border this season, and they did lose it, so hopefully they've got a bit of a better strategy this time around. It does look like similar ops from these players, so if the setup is relatively the same, that wouldn't shock me. And they're out of position. Dash is just so deep, Parker.
Well, they trade it right back. Spoit and Dash had come to blows in a very similar part of the map just the previous round. Spoit manages to prevail there as Dash was hunting him on the Hibana. Now Dash was on the Ash. Kansan moves on to Hibana, and he'll poke open some of the walls into the back of that office portion leading into archives, but Shopify Rebellion have managed to get out of there quite safely. Multiple layers to this defense here. Not just the castle barricades that you have to deal with and the black mirrors as well, but then also just the way that it's been set up upstairs so Shopify Rebellion can sit farther back, deal with whatever caliber-based destruction has given them lines of sight, and their opponents, of course, will try to take some of those lines of sight too. And Spiker almost catches a freebie onto Ambi because he was shooting through the wall. I don't know if he had any intel there. Mostly still outside of the building. Wildcard are going to swing their way in. Baby Shark is off to the races with the sidearm in hand. He finds nothing. Ambi on a tear so far, Jesse. Guns down Kansan. Shopify Rebellion will lose Spotify, or lose Spoit upstairs inside of security. Shopify Rebellion hanging on now for dear life. They managed to survive the previous round with 3 players alive. That means they're going to have to go perfect against Wildcard for the final minute.
Yeah, I mean, playing really together for Shopify Rebellion. They were all on the top floor. They all fell off at the same moment. Now they've got a trio of Rexen, Canadian, Ambi to hold down for the last 60 seconds. Good vert pressure available with Baby Shark on that sledge, showing off the new secondary that he got added this patch as well. So we'll see what they can do with it, using their drones at first to try to find out where these players are at. They see the Tuberau. They should know approximately where Rexen is as well. Offsite in the bathroom. They catch him on a drone too. Really good information from Wildcard, but that doesn't mean it's going to be easy to convert.
Got plenty of time now to go back onto Discovery, and you hold above the bomb site. But as we saw in round number 1, the challenge for Wildcard was dropping on in. Now, aided by the final EU1D used by Spiker's Lion, they'll go for some soft destruction into that customs wall. Spiker leading the charge down the stairs, slaughtered by Ambi, traded right back by Bay. And Rexen's turn to get in on the action, only his second kill. He was the MVP the last time these teams tussled. Him and Baby Shark in a 1v1 with Canadians sitting inside the site, but it's Canadian who will pop up to get that final kill. They had 3 survive in round number 1. Wildcard managed to reduce them to 2, but that's still a 2-0 start for the Rebellion.
I really like the trades there at the end. You know, it wasn't going to be an easy hold for Shopify Rebellion with all that information going in the favor of Wildcard, but they just stuck together. They clumped up so that even if they did lose a player, they were able to trade it right back. Really good play again from Ambi. It's not getting 4Ks or 3Ks, but he's getting really critical kills. This one right here gave the initial man advantage for Shopify Rebellion, allowed them to start this trade game where it goes back and forth, and then Canadian, the one guy, kind of not grouped up with his teammates, able to fork that second angle. Beautifully played by Shopify Rebellion. It feels like they really do have control over this game, just to start at least. I mean, playing the top floor, wasting their time, falling back all as a unit, continuing to play together. That's that chemistry that you don't get unless you really do spend a lot of hours practicing as a team.
That's one of the benefits that we had when teams used to live in team houses together, was that you could not evade your own teammates, right? They were everywhere all the time, and for better or for worse, it made you a more cohesive unit in the server, or at least that was the hope. If it didn't, then you had to make some changes to the roster or changes to the way that you lived. I mean, when you look at the organizations that exist in this esport, you're hard-pressed to find one with more funding and more desire to be the best than Shopify Rebellion. I mean, the company has more money than God, and obviously they're not going to put most of that into esports. That would be a... let me put on my economics hat here. An abdication of their fiduciary responsibilities, Jesse. So they're going to put enough money in so that the team succeeds. And I know when we've talked to squads over the last couple months, they boot camp, but the facilities for Shopify Rebellion are second to none. Things have seemingly worked out well for them here on this border matchup. They're 2-0 in the rounds, and they just got the leadoff pick in round number 3, looking for a perfect rotation of these bomb sites. Wildcard will be very quick to get into the site, or so they'd hope, but Kansan is rebuffed by a Nitro Cell tossed out by Rexen, and the lead for the Shopify Rebellion team will grow in Canadian as Rexen now falls back, can hold down this bomb site as finally they will defend upstairs.
They got their chance to go against the bomb site and the setup that they had seen in the round 1 before the rehouse, but it doesn't seem like that extra time to prep's done them any favors, Parker. Still being swung out, Dash second opening death in a row as he falls on the secure CC window. Now these last 3 players, they do have good utility. 2 Lion Charges, a Dope Call as well, but if Shopify Rebellion just aren't moving, if they're simply holding their angles, then it's going to be really tough for Wildcard to work a pick. Let's hope they can find something here soon.
Wildcard have been battling from behind most of these rounds, and they've never found the success that they want. They've been able to isolate some of these players, but Shopify Rebellion's defense has been pretty lockstep. There's always somebody there to trade them out, which is a bit of a problem if Wildcard wants to grow that advantage. It was a 3v3 in rounds 1 and 2, and neither ultimately were successful for the team in orange. Got 1 Logic Bomb and 1 EE1D left to try and paralyze these Shopify Rebellion defenders. Nice lineup onto the Mira of Rexen, but Spiker just misses a golden opportunity, and he's worried about the swing because there's more defense that's over towards Fountain. Final Logic Bomb will go off. Ambi punished in his position. These remaining defenders, they're all known now. You can hear the calls ringing out. Wildcard are still a little bit reluctant to push this for good reason. Now it's Rexen under watch as Wildcard changes their assault over towards 90, thinking otherwise, back towards Fountain. Down goes Spoit, and Wildcard have equalized the numbers. Not with a ton of time left, though. Spiker on the ground, Baby Shark will join him, and it's all up to Bay in a 1v3. Rexen yet to die so far in this match. He's the only one who's been impervious to any damage whatsoever. Down on the ground, over by Fountain. He's just buying time at that point. Rexen credited with the final 2 kills, and it's a 3-0 start for the Rebellion.
You know, Parker, he didn't really frag out, but I thought that was a great round from Canadian in particular. He loves to play East Stairs. He's done it with a zombie in the past. He's doing it with Smoke seemingly in this matchup. And he starts the round over towards East. That's not really where he's facing a lot of pressure. So once his teammates pop off, he decides, you know what? In a 5v3, I'm going to be more useful with my teammates. Concedes that ground, allows Wildcard to take East, take the hallway, take even into offices, allow them to grab all of this space, because he knows he can then sit inside of Archives, sit inside of Fountain, and use those toxic babes in the last 50 seconds. That was a huge problem for Wildcard. They could have maybe tried to walk in, work a pick Fountain, work a pick Archives, but as they were constantly being smoked out, there was just nothing they could do. Bay goes and gets a kill over towards the hallway, but who cares? That's not the bomb site. That's not map control that you really needed to be taking. Maybe if somebody had gone over towards Archives window, Archives door, try to work a different angle, it would have worked better for them. But just with so many toxic babes, it really did put the brakes on that Wildcard attack. And, you know, it just feels like first game back into the stage. They didn't play in the offseason like Shopify Rebellion did. Feels like they're a little bit slow to start, Parker. This doesn't feel like the Wildcard that we saw in stage 1.
No, and I mean, the desk did talk a little bit about Wildcard's slow start in stage 1, so maybe there's just a team that succeeds in the second half. But when we've talked time and time again about how these teams do throughout the course of a stage, if you give up the first, second, third game of the stage, that realistically could be it from a mathematics standpoint. You can be eliminated because even if you go perfect for the remainder of the stage, you're going to be chasing teams that are very likely ahead of you in the standings. And then it becomes less about how well you do and more about how they stumble. Because if you're 2 or 3 games behind and your opponents are not losing that are ahead of you, it doesn't matter if you go perfect, you will not be able to close that gap. Wildcard, obviously, not having those game day reps, being out of action for a couple months, means that there will be some rust that accumulates. All of these teams will have a bit more rust than they will in, say, 3 weeks' time. But obviously, Shopify Rebellion had that opportunity to play not just competitive matches, but play on LAN, and that can make a huge difference.
5 seconds to insertion.
We've got to see Kansan get more involved in these games. I mean, 0-3, he was the single best player in North America that did not get top 4 in stage 1. So of all the players that weren't able to get top 4, he was the best of them. And in fact, even including all those players, I believe he was top 5, top 6 in the league. So to see Kansan going down 0-3, that's certainly something that Wildcard will want to get fixed. Baby Shark as well, 0-3, not as big of a star player for Wildcard in stage 1, but certainly talented in his own right. The French rookie imported in from Europe has been a big topic of conversation for this team, and I've been impressed with him for his first stage, but just not really able to find much against this oppressive Shopify team. They'll go back to Ventilation Workshop. This push will once again be in for Wildcard as they slowly work their way through the top floor.
Very disappointing start for Kansan now with 0 kills. Somebody who has been able to top not just his own team, but also the league's standings before. There was a period of time in stage 1 where he was bar none the best player statistically in the North America League. Not being able to stand up to players like Rexen, like Ambi so far in this series is not a great look for the dynamic and offensive threat that Wildcard has. I think it's fair to say that when all 5 of these players on Wildcard are on, Kansan is just a small cut above in terms of mechanics and gameplay. But if you're going 0-3 up against players now 0-4, with Spoit now being the one to kill him, my oh my, I have to worry about Wildcard's chances here. They've gunned down Surf and they almost eliminate Ambi. There they go. So maybe they don't need Kansan, Jesse. Maybe they just need to function more as a team.
Yeah, I mean, a lot better on that top floor, able to clear out those two aggressive roamers. Canadian remains up above, though, Parker, and he's looking to get a frag back. He thinks he just might, as there's a player on his door. Spoit's doing the heavy work for him. Canadian full white, gets right past the doorway. How is he alive? But finally, Dash gets what's his.
You can't say the words white and Canadian in the same phrase. It brings back terrible Oregon flashbacks, and people's eyes just completely glaze over. This is the first lead that Wildcard has had in almost 10 minutes in terms of numbers. They have been tied or trailing in terms of man count through almost all of these rounds. They've managed to reduce Shopify Rebellion to just 2 players, Spoit and Rexon, who again has been immortal. Rexon not yet died at all through these 3 rounds. Full upstairs control at the moment for Wildcard. As you can see, the silhouettes from the Rebellion are far removed from the bomb site. Wildcard have plenty of time at their disposal. Not a lot of information, only 2 drones remaining, and not sure if they're going to be much of a factor here. They're just going to play off of the bomb site. It's a big bomb site. There's lots of areas for you to be able to get down and get the plant off. Baby Shark will look for the rotate now towards the main door with a shotgun in hand. Sledge will have a bit more versatility now that he has that secondary sidearm, and he gains a perfect opportunity to give Rexon his very first death. Spoit shuts down 2 and almost saves the round, but Baby Shark is there for insurance at the door, and Wildcard pick up their first round.
All right, when they needed him the most, Baby Shark did step up. He finds the final frag. Really nice stuff coming out from him. Also cool tech with the sledge. We saw it from Bay earlier, but then being able to pull out that Reaper MK2 that he got again in the most recent update has been really big for Sledge. Allowing him to run that shotgun might be something that we see from more teams going forward as well. But again, I do think that round comes down to the early game, getting that man advantage. It was very similar to round 2, Parker, where they got the top floor control. They started to stall out a little bit. The timer got a little bit scary, but this time they had the man advantage. And in round 2, when Shopify Rebellion were able to trade out 1 for 1, 1 for 1, that wasn't able to happen this time because Wildcard had the initial numbers. They had more bodies they could place in more places around the map. High level, that was just a better situation for Wildcard to be in, and so it's nice to see them able to close that out. Still, when Shopify Rebellion win the early game, things get a little scary, but for Wildcard, right after the attack timeout especially, that was an important round to win.
I mean, yeah, you use your timeout, which doesn't always net immediate success. And again, you don't know how much of that timeout is going to be used to discuss this first half, or are you thinking maybe what happens in the second half? We don't get to hear the team comms. We don't get to hear the coach comms anymore. It would be very interesting to hear how Wildcard was corralled into action after that 3rd round, because they did look significantly better. Their entry was good after losing Kansas. You'd think that a team like this would stumble after losing, bar none, their best player, but Kansan is statistically the worst player in the lobby at the moment. When you've got Canadian in the lobby and you're the worst player, that's really saying something. So Kansan will have to pick it up. He's going to play on, I figure, relatively safe roles for the remainder of attack. Let the rest of the team do the heavy lifting.
We'll see. We're swatching up the bomb site, Parker, so we are going to go bathroom and tellers this time for the first time. Custom supply not to be repeated from Shopify Rebellion. It's nice to have it in your toolkit, but not really a bomb site that you can rely on. Top floor, regardless, was still going to be the focal point. Spoit playing in security, no mirror window this time, as that did get banned out, so this pressure might get a little bit scary for him. Baby Shark enters too.
Oh, the shotgun out. Changes that you can see. No SMG-11, you've got that secondary full auto sidearm now that packs quite a punch. Canadian and Surf are the only 2 remaining. Canadian might as well have been a target dummy there as he's looking in the wrong direction. Wildcard are speeding their way through this round. After suffering quite heavily through those first 3, they managed to make it work in round 4, and their confidence has only increased. They've lost 1 player, so no flawless round. That's Baby Shark, conquered by a nitro cell thrown up below by Surf. He's not in the bomb site, but he's close enough. He's going to vault on into the bathroom if he needs to. This will be a mighty challenge, though, Jesse. 4 players remain on the side of Wildcard. They still have plenty of utility. 3 death marks from the Deimos and EE1D that will now be used, and me oh my, where do you even go right there? Final kill for Wildcard nets them the round, and the gap is closed very quickly. 3-0 just moments ago. Now 3-2. Shopify Rebellion still in the lead, but Wildcard biting at their heels.
And Parker, you were just talking about Kansan and Canadian, and I think Kansan took that personally. First killing Troy, and then also finding Surf for that final frag as well. So no longer the worst in the lobby. Congratulations to Kansan. Comes off the back of probably the most perfect roam clear that we've seen in a hot minute here in North America. Really beautifully done. You saw it come down with Spiker on that Lion charge. Clearly a 3-2-1 play. The sledge comes in through the sandwich window. You've got a heavy pressure over towards break room. Canadian got there in the end to try to help out from Raptors, but by the time he's moved over to that position, it's too late. His teammates are all dead. He goes down to Kansan right as that happens. So great coordination from Wildcard. Night and day difference on how that push had gone previously. I do think the Mira ban certainly helped out, but more than that, it was just really well played together. Caught them off guard. Flashes were really strong on that push as well. So excellent round from Wildcard back to back now, where we've seen them start strong and then be able to bring that momentum all the way through.
Very pivotal round for both of these teams before we witness the side swap emerge. Watching these bans from Wildcard to see how they impact Shopify Rebellion in this second half. I mean, it's no secret that Mira was removed right before Wildcard started winning. Mira was a staple of this Shopify Rebellion defense. It allowed them to play an extra layer forward using those black mirrors to stall for time and gain very valuable information while forcing the attackers into other locations. When you see operators like Castle and like Mira, and honestly, Arun kind of finds herself in that same area where you're forced to go a certain way. And the defenders are waiting for you. You're not prepped as attackers. Chipping away at that defense by banning some of these operators, as Wildcard did with that Mira, just makes it so you're a little bit more effective at getting into the building, which again can be a mighty struggle on border.
Well, Wildcard have brought something special for their final attack. We saw Spiker set up the Sens walls over towards lockers. That's going to block off the line of sight if they want to use that to get into security. Good information still from Shopify, but they still fall first.
They baited Spoit out so perfectly there as well. That's a starting pick for Wildcard. We only need 4 more to tie things up and set us no closer to a finale as the side swap commences. Halfway point of the round, and even though he received a bunch of nerfs, Blackbeard still has a role and still has some power here in the meta. Right now, he's just a focal point for these defenders as Dash watches the bullets deflect off of that rifle shield that he has. Takes some damage now as Bay is dropped. Ambi and Surf both go into the ground at the hands of Ambi, who gets a team kill. And a nice shoot onto the Nitro cell as Dash survives. Not for very much longer. Rexon finishes what little remained, but a bit of flash, a bit of brilliance. Rexon and Canadian, the last two standing for Shopify Rebellion with a minute to go. Wildcard, yet again, finds themselves with a small advantage in man count.
And Rexon avoiding that Deimos track thanks to the Mute Jammer, and he'll get back out to his teammate. That's a huge escape. If he'd been isolated, he had no chance in the round, but now he's with Canadian and landing some beautiful shots.
I mean, I wonder if you've defanged this Wildcard execute at this point. Spiker has to burn that last Sens gadget to take out the laser gate as Baby Shark's death mark goes off. 2 remain in pocket as he does battle over by the top of metal. They are about as far away on the side of Wildcard from each other as they can be. Baby Shark and Spiker might as well be on completely different maps. Spiker has found his way into the bomb site, and he does it the case, but he gets out-dueled by Canadian, who will now need to go for a 2-piece to seal the deal on this round. 5 seconds remain as Baby Shark would have to get that diffuser and plant it, but he's running out of time. Canadian now off to the races. And nobody on Wildcard will stick it through. Canadian not credited with the final kill, but he's able to win the round all the same. 4-2 the first half for the Rebellion.
What a ridiculous rotation from Canadian and Rexon in that 2v2. So initially, Canadian's on site, Rexon's in security. Rexon somehow makes it back to Canadian. And then despite there being a Deimos on Metal Stairs, they both run straight past Metal, get into Fountain, and then Canadian's got the angle to stop a plant inside of Archives. Ridiculous movement from Shopify Rebellion, playing so well on that defense. It's so clear that this team is so well coordinated in the late round. Multiple instances in that half where we saw some really cool stuff thanks to them playing together. Beautifully done by Shopify Rebellion. We'll get them to 4-2 half, and we'll get right into the bans. Blitz Smoke would be the expected 2 operators to come out. Deimos Smoke will be the actual 2 operators to come out for our final couple of bans. Again, attacker bans relatively standard. Deimos and Ying, not a super uncommon pair, especially I think with some of the Blackbeard nerfs. Shield's maybe not going to be as big of a factor this stage as we saw in stage 1. Defense bans completely changed up. We saw that Fenrir ban from Wildcard in the first half, and especially with Fenrir losing that shotgun pistol in the most recent update, I'm not sure if it's going to be the biggest target ban coming through for this stage. We'll have to wait and see. Again, it's only the first game. Then we've got the Azami Smoke from Shopify, a completely different game plan. That's going to signal that Shopify Rebellion will be loving East Stairs. Going to be focusing on that for a majority of their pushes. It can be really tough to hold on to this position when you don't have either of those operators, and so we'll have to see if Wildcard can maybe find some other way around that and hold East Stairs anyways, or if they'll have some backup plan to just ignore East altogether.
5 seconds remaining.
I wonder if Fenrir is more of a comfort ban than a target ban, because even though Fenrir is not as strong as he used to be, he is very firmly in that nuisance operator category. I mean, nuisance op is actually a term that I first heard coined by Desichu, one of the EML/EUL, if you remember that league back then. Now it's obviously called EML. Casters. Well, he's talking about nuisance ops. Operators on attack, like Dokkaebi, like Ying, like Lion. As defenders, you can put operators like Legion in there, like Fenrir in there. Just gadgets that are very annoying to deal with. Fenrir's ban rate wasn't anything special through stage 1. He was banned in 13% of the games, but his pick rate was much higher. So teams opting to go with your more standard Kaid, Castle, Azami, Clash kind of setup. Mir obviously snuck in there as well. Bandit's ban rate was also quite high. But even when Fenrir was available, his prominence wasn't that great. He wasn't used all that often. See exactly how Bay wants this operator to function, as you'd seen some emphasis from the gadgetry over on the side of security, which is now where Wildcard is taking the fight directly to Shopify Rebellion. And my goodness, Canadian learning the hard way that Blitz is not impervious to all damage when he's got that shield up. Ambi trades it back, and both of these teams lose one before Kansan tosses in a Nitro cell to take out Spoit. And this battle is happening in the first minute and 15 seconds of the round.
Yeah, good to see that Wildcard fight back, as they've now lost a lot of space but have answered back with numbers. Doesn't mean it's going to be simple to hold this down, but they've got really strong pressure. That Nomad air jab could be scary, but they just fight it head on. They don't get anything from it, but the air jab's been cleared out. Shopify Rebellion realizing this is not a fight that they can sustainably take. They're going to have to back off, try to work some other angles. They've only got 3 alive, but that doesn't mean that they're helpless. They can start to get on drones, start to re-clear the east side of the map, maybe look towards East Stairs, look towards offices. That's exactly what Surf is currently doing. There are other ways into this site than just the Locker's wall, and they're going to think this is a better idea.
And the slow creep up to eliminate Tachanka is done quite handily from Rexon, losing the engagement to Bay on a tight angle, and Surf is the last one left alive. Things fell apart for Shopify Rebellion in a hurry. They'll lick their lips on the side of Wildcard as they know exactly where Surf is. Watching him emerge over towards Fountain, now walking his way into the bomb site, or as close to it as he'll get, before Baby Shark puts him in the ground. Wildcard had an opportunity to tie the game in the first half. They only won 2 in a row, dropped that pivotal 6th round, but once again, the gap between them and the Rebellion are a single round.
Good reads and good responses throughout that round. Super fast from Shopify Rebellion to take into security with the Blitz Lion combo that they had. That's a lot of important map control that Wildcard conceded early, but they didn't lose any bodies for it. They retreated back into the site, and then they said, you know what, we may not have a lot of map control, but we do have the ability to go for swings, go get some kills. Dash, an incredibly important pick onto Canadian to shut down the Blitz threat. A Nitro from Kansan gave them the man advantage. And then when Shopify Rebellion pivoted, when they moved their push from lockers over towards offices, Wildcard read that immediately, responded so well, gave up the first pick on that re-clear, but it didn't matter because they were back so quickly to trade it out. Nicely done by Wildcard. It really feels like since the TAC timeout, they're playing a much better game. They haven't won every round since the TAC timeout, but they seem like they're more out of their own heads. You know, they're more focused, they're responding better, they're calling better, and I think that's been very apparent in the last couple of rounds we've seen from them.
I never really understood all the heat that Wildcard got for this team. They finished just shy of 7th place. They and Cloud9 were in quite the fight here, but the bottom half of the NA League in Stage 1 was quite close. I mean, you had LFO, who finished in 8th place with 9 points, and then you had OXG, who finished in 5th place with 12 points. Only 3 points of a difference. That's one win. That's all it takes. Wildcard are a team that has weapons. Bay is capable of handling the best of the best. Rexon has 9 kills. Bay just shut him down to get his 9th kill. It's not all just the Kansan show for this team, and Baby Shark has shown that he can do well, even if he has statistically struggled since making his NA League debut. I think Wildcard just needed more time to gain very valuable experience. None of these players have been around at a top level for a long period of time, and I would argue that natural leadership is something that Wildcard has lacked. You just need to develop it. And it's possible for it to develop, it just needs time. There's only a couple games in each stage, and if you don't make it to one of the live events, you've got a long off season where you can scrim as much as you want, but you're not actually playing real teams in a real competitive setting. That makes it difficult for teams like Wildcard to continue to evenly match the top of their regions unless they get there themselves.
SR completely concede on security, but that might have opened them up as a big flank from Baby Shark. I say flank, I mean, he's just snuck his way into Passport. He's a moment too late, as after that Selma charge opened up a line of sight to East Stairs, they've just left it. Kind of ghost pressure. Beauty shot from Ambi as they will finally clean up on Dash. They had dropped down to Workshop, so no longer playing in security. The entire top floor actually completely cleared out by Wildcard, so ground conceded now. Might have gotten baited a little bit as I thought Shopify was just going to ignore it and go straight in through Passport, but no, they will re-clear up above, and these mind games of where they're going to be pushing will commence. Ambi, a second kill, finding Bay, finally clearing that up, and he's just not done, Parker. The vert angles all going towards the kid.
I mean, you've got some real explosive players in here, Jesse. Ambi is certainly among them, and now he's got 9 kills as well. It's a 3-way tie at the top for frags in this match. Plenty more to be had, though, for Ambi. Baby Shark with a kill onto Surf to keep things a little bit tighter. Wildcard still just have 2, and Baby Shark took a beating in that engagement. Only Kansan stands on that side with full HP. He's got his work cut out for him as Ambi gets an ace and tears through all of Wildcard. I guess you don't need the other 4 players when you've got Ambi putting on a clinic just like that.
Oh man, Ambi, what a crazy round from him. Beautifully done on the ace. Such a talented player. Maybe the best player in North America, Parker. He got picked up by this Shopify core on his 18th birthday so that he could play at the 6th Invitational 2024. Spent a year and a half as the youngest player in the NAL, consistently being one of the best as well. This stage, that streak is broken. Aiden will be the new youngest player in the league being picked up by Envy, but Ambi is still one of the best. That's not changing anytime soon. So mechanically talented, so good with his gun skill. I mean, there's just nothing to say about Ambi other than the praise. I mean, he's so good in these moments as an individual, as a teammate. Really impressive stuff.
A story between these two teams in our very first match here. We got Shopify Rebellion demolishing in the first 3 rounds, thinking, okay, wow, this team has really done some serious work in the offseason. They look unbeatable. And then Wildcard manages to solve them in round number 4, crushes them in round number 5, and then a nail biter to finish the first half. Okay, that's fine. Then you get Wildcard putting on a heater in their very first defense. All right, again, a bit unsurprising, but still, you know, welcome to see. And then Ambi gets an ace, and here we are. What theatrics and what fireworks await us in round number 9? Do we see Shopify Rebellion move to match point? Ambi starting off with his 6th kill in the last 3.5 minutes. Baby Shark is down for the count. Baby Shark's been doing a lot better as this match has gone on. That's a big loss for Wildcard.
You let Ambi get hot, and now you might just be in for a world of hurt. It's been so fantastic. We're again seeing this fast clear come through with the Lion Blitz combo. This is what they used back in round 7 as well. I imagine one of those 2 operators will be the focal point of the bans right after this round. But for now, Wildcards still have to find a way around it. Previously, it was Dash who got aggressive and actually found an angle to kill Canadian, but this time that's going to be a lot tougher. Never mind, it's going to be just as easy to kill Canadian.
Oh my goodness, Jesse. Not a lot of recoil to handle on that T5, admittedly, but Bay handles it so well and tears through both Canadian and Ambi. That's a combined 14 kills gone. 12 of them are Ambis, but who are we counting here? Good thing for both of these teams, though, is that there is lots of depth. Rexon's been tearing through just about everybody. He'll break double digits with his 10th kill, taking care of Bay in security. He's got a bit of trepidation. He doesn't know where these defenders are seated, as he needs to retrieve the diffuser, or somebody on the team will be compelled to do so. 3v3 with just about half of the round to go. Both of these teams in excellent position.
Slow it down for a minute. The drone's coming back out from serve. This is what happened last time they were in the late round situation without a good spot. Rexon picks up the fuse kit, and so now they can decide where they want to go with it. All three players top floor. Bomb site is beneath them, so you could try to sneak the plant, but I have to imagine with Kansas above, that won't be successful. Now, it's maybe a more attractive option.
Quiet, lots of quiet between these teams. Shopify Rebellion wrestling the lead in terms of players away from Wildcard before Spiker shuts down Rexon, who didn't seem to be aware of Spiker lurking in this position, now aligned on the triple panel, staring outside. Spoit will hop into office. Spoit's attention is elsewhere. Spiker could strike, but Spoit hits shots that just seem unthinkable to most players. Dash will hold down the fort. 20 seconds remain on the clock. Doing double duty, watching towards the main door, watching towards the back of this A bomb site, and he's got a good lineup towards the door. He's given his position away. Down goes Surf. Out comes the shotgun, pushing up onto Spoit, and Dash will put a punctuation mark on that round. No match point yet for Shopify Rebellion. They'll have to work a little bit harder. Wildcard once again within one round.
And what an important save that was from the Brazilian. Dash and Spiker, the support duo of Wildcard, were the last two alive in that 2v2. Unlike when Shopify were in those late round situations, they weren't able to group up. Spiker was way too far away from the bomb site, so he had to play by himself, went down, put Dash into that difficult position, but he stepped up big time, saving that. As soon as he got the first kill, he was going up against Spoit close range with a shotgun, and Spoit was on 1 HP. There's not a lot Spoit can do to win that fight, unfortunately, but still credit to Dash to do everything perfectly in that moment. Clutch out the 1v2. We're seeing now the kill on the Canadian that happened earlier from Bay, the quick two-piece that he got. Maybe a bit of my fault, a bit of a caster curse. The Canadian died as soon as I said how tough that would be, but even still, the way that they play that is really, really nice on the side of Wildcard to keep this game close. And I mean, I think that's exactly what we deserve between these two teams. Since that, I would say, fourth round, this has been a really close series.
Really, really, really close. When these teams did battle last stage, it was a 7-5 victory for Shopify Rebellion. So it was as close as you can get without going to extra innings. That's 7-5, that's 12 rounds. That's how many you get before you go to OT. With the way it's going, it's certainly shaping up for that to happen again. Based off of the rhythm of this second half, the expectation ought to be Shopify Rebellion win this round, then Wildcard win the next, and then either Shopify Rebellion close it out with that 7th round victory, or we go to OT, which would be a closer result than what we saw before, which would show growth, honestly, on the side of Wildcard, which is what we come to expect. That match was played earlier in stage 1, when Wildcard were still finding their footing, adjusting to adding players from outside of the region. And boy, oh boy, what a start to this round, as they look to beat the expectations and shut down Ambi very early, with Baby Shark doing so with Boss G in hand.
In 2025, Baby Shark? All right, sure, why not? Takes down the best player on Shopify. Don't be fooled as well by the bomb site. We are on custom supply for the second time this game. They've got Kaid to try to keep that jail wall closed. Spoit will now be hunting this down. They didn't find it, so they got to take a little bit more time. They'll have to use the EMP from Surf instead. This should be fine. The Nitro doesn't find its mark from Spiker, so the wall is open. That's objective 1 secured. Next objective is probably going to be opening up that second wall from Passport, but we'll get there when we do. Ban wasn't focused on Lion or Blitz, by the way. They took out Rexon's Nomad instead, so he's moved on over to the Buck. Kind of expect to see him on the Twitch, historically, but Spoit takes that instead. So Shopify Rebellion will have all the tools they need to start going for this clear. There are no players from Wildcard still on that top floor, so it's relatively clear. Shopify can take this space. They can start to work the vert from inside security, and then it's anybody's guess who comes out on top when this eventual execute comes through. Only 1 exothermic charge, so these patches are going to be tough to open up.
Quite a devastating situation for a team looking to maintain their lead. Wildcard has yet to find a lead in this series. They haven't even tied. They've been trailing since the very beginning, and what a comeback this would be to neuter your opponents and then seize the lead right as the match ends. The expectation for an organization like Shopify Rebellion is a top 2, probably not even a top 4 finish in this region. So you have to beat teams like Wildcard if you want to be in that top 2 spot, just like they were in the previous stage. They just found a kill on Bay moments before, but the time is starting to get scary for Shopify Rebellion. 35 seconds left on the clock. Wildcard have not really moved a muscle, so if you're Shopify Rebellion, you better have found these remaining defenders. They found Spiker, lost Spoit, back to even footing. 20 seconds has been done from the timer. Surf eliminating Dash as he sought to retreat back to the bomb site. Kansan on the board now as well. Back and forth they go. 10 seconds left. You cannot trade if you are looking to win. You gotta get uncontested kills. Surf has done just that. But a shrewd angle played by Baby Shark will down Rexen and look to push with only 2 seconds left. Surf denied an opportunity. Baby Shark does it again, and Wildcard have tied the game.
Baby Shark on a nice edge for that clutch, but he does it in the end. He tempts him with the run. He forces him off the plants. He could have just waited out the time, and I think he would have been able to stop that plant, but in the end, he forces him off. Wasn't 100% sure. Took a little damage, but he is okay. The Boss G and SMG combo on Vigil has never looked so good. Both the opening pick and the final 2, effectively, in that round was really massive, and they will once again, Parker, force Shopify Rebellion away from that match point. This is going to be a big day from Wildcard in esports. Not only are they potentially going to force Shopify Rebellion into overtime or maybe take a 7-5 win, but also debuting at Dota 2's The International this morning for an organization first. So big day for esports coming out from Wildcard, and they've got to be feeling extremely happy about where they're at in this game too.
Final timeout will be used as Wildcard used theirs when they were down 0-3. Since then, they've looked mighty good. They've gone 5-2 since calling their timeout, so things have certainly helped since that timeout, and then obviously the timeout no doubt helped them as well. Is Spoit wearing eyeliner? You see that?
He looks good. I don't know what it is, Parker, but I think he looks good.
I think it looks great. I have no problem with anybody wearing makeup. It doesn't trouble me at all. I saw it and was like, oh. I think what's more likely is he probably was doing something and it's probably just dirt. But either way, doesn't matter, just a small observation. I did not like the Tachanka when it was used on this bomb site previously. Jesse, do you think that it might work out this time, or do you think Shopify Rebellion will do a good enough job isolating the Lord inside of Office, just as they did the previous attempt from Wildcard?
Well, I'm not sure if we'll get to find out, Parker, because I think we're probably rehosting this. But in any case, this Tachanka pick is, of course, a reaction to the Azami smoke ban being brought out by Shopify Rebellion. He's going to want to play over towards East Stairs, most likely. They want to try to hold things down on that side of the map, and often you'll do that with a smoke because he's so effective with both the barbed wire and the toxic babes of stalling out that East push. I think Tachanka can do much the same, but if you get rushed down, whether you're in East or whether you've fallen back to offices at that point, you don't have that same ability to switch back to your gun very quickly to take that fight. You kind of need to be more supported by your teammates, which can make it awkward to play in kind of an isolated spot like East. So yeah, we'll see what Spiker is able to do with it. It's not new. He's played Tachanka on that bomb site in that position before in their previous game against M80 in the 5th place decider match. But yeah, we'll have to find out after this rehost how that ends up going.
Well, just a small pause now for these teams to get back in. We're going to go to a quick break while this gets settled, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. See you then. Good things come to those who wait, and well, we've had to wait a few times for this matchup, so I have no doubt that the ending will be good. I think that's how things work, Jesse. I don't know about you, but that's how they work in my life, at least.
Yeah, Parker, I think that's about right, especially with how we've seen this game go so far. It's been a real battle of wits between Shopify Rebellion and Wildcard. The late round calling has really defined a lot of these games. We've got the oldest captain in the league versus the youngest, with Rookie of the Year contender Canadian up against Spiker. In a battle of wits that honestly could go either way at this point. Shopify Rebellion started off in a dominant position, but Wildcard have really battled back these last couple rounds. Their defenses have looked a lot better than what we saw in some of their attacks, so we really could see things start to shift in these last 2 rounds of regulation. Canadian no longer favoring the blitz, deciding he died too many times on that op. Switches over to the Monty and starts to walk straight through to Chonka Fire.
I'd rather a bit of confidence there. We asked ourselves before the Rios, before Bay crashed out of the server and we had to go to a bit of a lengthy break, was what will the Tachanka be able to accomplish here? We were a bit critical of the Tachanka. I was, actually. I don't want to say we, because that would make you look like a villain. Just me. Just a couple rounds prior. When you bring it to Tachanka, you bring it to Tachanka for 2 reasons. Number 1, because it fills a very similar role to Smoke, who was banned out by Shopify Rebellion, so you need some type of denial. Goyo can function that way in some instances, so can Echo. Tachanka is oftentimes the best substitute for what this wildcard team is attempting to do, but he needs to be in a safe spot because Tachanka is quite vulnerable with that Shumika launcher in hand, shooting out those Molotovs, which will follow Canadian, but not get there in front of him. He will make some calls as Bay is trapped over towards that 90 Nook. Ambi looking for the follow-up. Rooney hunted down. Ambi dies. Bay gets both. And Shopify Rebellion fall flat on their face as they attempt to wander into the bomb site. Wildcard has not led in this match. Jesse, they are 2 kills away from changing that.
Bay puts the team on his back in the worst possible position. Baby Shark finds another exploit in the 1v5, seemingly an impossible situation. This would have to be Shopify Rebellion's 2nd ace of the game. Inside of offices, beautiful shot to start things off, but plenty still to work with. No defuse kit, Parker. 35 seconds on the clock, and they know his exact positioning. This should not be possible, even with the 2nd frag.
Spoit is doing some serious damage, but I mean, that's a lot of ground to make up, and not a lot of time to do it in. We'll also rely on these 3 remaining players from Wildcard, giving him something that they shouldn't be. Spoit will find a 3rd before getting shut down by Bay, who was the star of the show, breaking the backs of Shopify Rebellion as they attempted an entry. Ambi and Canadian as the duo crushed in security, and Wildcard on match point. Their first lead of the game comes at a great time.
Yeah, couldn't be better. 1 round will separate them in a victory over Shopify Rebellion. Bay takes an impossible situation and turns it to just pure gold. He is being stared at by a Monty. He is constantly being red pinged by a drone. He's got multiple players walking at him, and somehow in security finds 2 kills and then ends the round by stopping the potential greatest clutch of Spoit's career. Very scary stuff if you're going up against a guy like that, especially after a big tack timeout. A lot of the time when you're a tech timeout, when you're forced to stop playing for a little while, when you're forced to kind of take a breather, step back a bit, sometimes you get cold. And Wildcard came into this game, frankly, quite cold. So it's incredibly promising to see them not slow down, not miss a beat after having to stop playing the last couple of moments. Bay, a 3K to start things off could be the difference maker that separates Wildcard from their first win.
Something also to note here, Jesse, Shopify Rebellion went all of Stage 1's group stages without a single loss. Their record, 8 victories in regulation, 1 victory in overtime, which came in a stunning match against that Team Envy squad, which would then go on to finish last in the NA League. Shopify Rebellion need to make overtime or, well, it'll be their very first group stage victory. Kansan on the run out makes that overtime likelihood much smaller as Spoit is shut down, and Wildcard with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left have a big advantage. You've cut down the Twitch, an operator who would so effectively handle some of the gadgetry on the side of Wildcard, and a powerful gun in the hands of a terrific player. Great start for Wildcard.
And Spiker really great as well. Just getting out of these stairs, was caught on a drone, falls back to his teammates. playing the same position, this time on the sentry, a bit more of a traditional pick in that spot. Now he can get back to play with his teammates. Still got that Nitro Cell as well. Try to work some of these frags. Big difference, though, is Shopify Rebellion will have a lot of time here. They've got 2 minutes to burn out this Nitro Cell, burn out some of the more extended players like Bay, who is still inside of security. They start by getting a frag on a Kansan, too, which is a huge pick back, trading the initial frag of the round.
Well, if we can keep it close here, then hope for OT will definitely be alive. Bay swinging out towards the rotate, gunned down by Ambi. Ambi had been hunting Bay in the previous round in that same spot. Bay had the upper hand, but Ambi now will go 1 for 1 as he will reposition. He's been spending a lot of time shepherding Canadian towards the bomb site. Canadian will have that defuse kit as per usual, this time not on a shield operator, but will do so on Brava. Drone Ops being the name of the game for Shopify Rebellion. With a minute to go, it's time to go back to Discovery. Scout out these defenders and maybe steal some of their gadgets.
Dash left alone on the top floor. There are still a couple of players who are trying to hunt him down, but the brunt of this push will be horizontal. It's going to come in through the east side of this map to make their way through Passport, make their way through the bottom floor, to eventually get a plant down workshop. They cleared out that Solus above, which would be the best tool you have to stop a plant like that. Dash on the Warden is quite a good tool as well, but you've got to be able to find that plant in amongst the smoke if you want to be able to deny it. And now he falls as well. Shopify in a great position.
We've got one now over by the bomb chassis of a Spiker and Baby Shark. Have fought alongside the other 3 deceased cohorts on Wildcard for a lead. It might just slip away. Canadian amidst the smoke, getting diffuser down. Nitro Cell tossed out. Canadian finished off by Baby Shark. Not good coverage. Spiker with a gun in hand takes down Ambi. It's all up to Spiker to clutch this one out with 10 seconds. Shopify Rebellion will need to retrieve that diffuser. Spiker missing a golden opportunity as Rexon will now attempt the defuse. Surf will watch over top. The smoke clears. Spiker will put himself in harm's way as Rexon pulls this one off. Spiker with very limited opportunity, very little knowledge. Surf drags him down, and we are going to OT in our first match of Stage 2.
Round 12, a mirror of round 11, where one team starts off with a massive advantage. They get really good positioning, really good numbers, and then there's that little potential of a comeback at the end, but it's just too out of reach, both for Spoit and now for Spiker. Not able to clutch that up means we're headed to overtime. We're headed to round 13. Really good clear from that top floor, of course, from Shopify Rebellion, able to isolate a lot of those players. Again, I think it comes down to the timing they had. I really like the throw into Bay. This one right here, Rexon's baiting. He's at the end of the hallway, shooting at just kind of the part of the wall that's right next to the reinforcement. That makes Bay think, okay, the player's quite far back. I'm on Oryx. I can sprint past this and get away with it. Little does he know, Ambi is right up close and has a perfect angle to shut it down. That was great coordination from Shopify Rebellion, which I think they've been showing all game long. That coordination, that team play will need to happen once again if they want to win this overtime. Wildcard are not slowing down on these attacks nor their defense.
Both of these teams have dropped a point at this point as well. For those that don't intimately know the way that the standings and scoring work here in the NA League is that if you make it to OT, you can only get 2 points. By virtue of making it to overtime, both of these squads will at least escape match number 1 with a point to their name. The question is who ekes out that singular point over the other one. For Wildcard, there was an opportunity to get 3 points, denying Shopify Rebellion a point at all. But for the second time since Stage 1, Shopify Rebellion will go to overtime. They won both rounds that they played in OT against Team Envy. Every other match in the group stages of Stage 1 was won in regulation by Shopify Rebellion. Given the scoreline, the last time these teams met up was a 7-5 victory for Shopify Rebellion. That's as close as you can get without overtime. It doesn't really surprise me to see that a single round difference has brought us to this point. Shopify Rebellion have been trailing most of this second half. They're back on familiar turf, back to defend. How will they fare over 2, potentially 3 rounds of OT?
The Rebellion got side choice in overtime. They decided to pick defense in overtime, which is probably the right decision given how regulation works, but we don't always see those trends continue. Break room in East has been the real focus for Wildcard. It's been quiet. Shopify Rebellion have been happy to give up this space. No heavy commitment to East like what we often do see. Canadian will play this position, but he's not ready for the walk-up on East. He goes down first and damage on Ambi too.
Baby Shark, to his credit, has been getting some stellar opening picks here, Jesse, and with it, Wildcard's chances are continuously bolstered. I mean, Deimos is a hell of an operator with a great kit and a very annoying gadget that they're going to feel some heat on the side of Shopify Rebellion with. Ambi now targeted as Kansan is buried. Kansan not faring so well himself as an attacker. The struggles he had through those first 6 rounds immediately emerging here in the first attacking round for Wildcard in about 30-40 minutes. 4v4 with about a minute left to go. Baby Shark now looking to follow up on the intel gained by Dash. Dash with the kill, immediately traded out by Ambi. Still a holdover inside of security by Shopify Rebellion. Staring out onto the balcony, staring over towards 90. Spoit is not far removed from Ambi, so at least there's some backup. As they both find themselves in the same room, that'll leave Surf as the lone man on the bomb site.
They knew where these players were thanks to the Grim, but can no longer get that info. The raw peek pays off for Bay, and you could get 2s, Parker.
They actually used the Banshee against the defenders. Shopify Rebellion trying to play off of that intel that was gained. The Bay has just been so good. Kansan doesn't need to frag as well when Bay is playing the way he is, and Bay has also been in a more forward role than Kansan has, so maybe a small change to Wildcard that is paying off. Spiker has found some security inside of the bomb site. With Diffuser in hand, he should be successful, as Shopify Rebellion have been pushed out of their own lair. Now, the daunting task, retake. Bay swiftly removes Ambi, and it's all up to Surf now, who was the only player on the bomb site originally, blowing open the wall, missing an opportunity on the Spiker, making up for lost time. He'll freeze out the advance of the attackers as now he sits on that case. Baby Shark and Bay are there, and it's from below that Baby Shark gets the job done. Wildcard back on the match point.
This might be the most underrated entry duo in the North American League. Bay and Baby Shark have been looking so good, both to find that early game pressure. We saw it towards East Stairs, but also in the mid round and the late round too, being able to use that Banshee to bait out a frag, and then the Deimos from down below, you know, they had the right idea. Surf was able to use that Zoto canister to stop the track from the death mark, but it doesn't matter. Pings or not, the Deimos down below is a huge problem, and Baby Shark used that so perfectly. What a brilliant round from Wildcard. Now they will be on overtime match points. They have lost their last 4 matches in a row, I should say. Shopify Rebellion, this core, including back when they were the Sonics. So they are no strangers to losing to this team. They could finally be about to break that trend and get their revenge on the core that has so commonly dominated them throughout the years.
It would be a very disappointing result for a team that has the expectations that they do on them of Shopify Rebellion. Now, with all that said, don't kid yourselves. All 10 of the teams that are playing in this league are angling to be the best overall. Some of the teams have maybe a bit healthier picture of what their capabilities are. I don't think there are some squads who think they will be battling for first, but that is the goal. And when you're going into your very first play day, you think you can beat just about everybody. If you don't think that, you probably shouldn't be playing at this level. Shopify Rebellion look at a team like Wildcard based on the results from stage number 1 and go, okay, yeah, this might be a bit of a tough match, but we should win. Still possible that they will, but Wildcard have just shown new life through the final portion of this map, and it is not doing the Shopify Rebellion team any favors. They're in action again tomorrow up against another pretty good team, which is Dark Zero. So Shopify Rebellion have a pretty rough second match ahead of them. As for Wildcard, they're in the middle game of the day tomorrow, going up against Space Station, the team that won Stage 1 after their triumphant run through the playoffs just a couple months ago. Still, we got to get through this match first. Wildcards to lose at the moment as they now move to defense.
Yeah, and it's not been a clean start to the round for Shopify Rebellion either. We saw Spoit in a great position with his Twitch drone to pop some of the Goyos, but not able to actually get anything from that spot. Lost his first Twitch drone over towards offices. Canadian trying to do some drone work as well, playing her on the Brava, can do some good hacking work on those Banshees and damage onto the Banshee holder, Malusi herself, as Baby Shark is 1 HP sitting right on top of Bay, the exact same corner, and good work from Spoit with the second Twitch drone. So gets value in the end, makes the security position really awkward. Bay and Baby Shark will need to find a way out of this.
Ambi's been terrific through most of this series. Bay, Ambi, and Rexen were leading the way in kills before the Rios took all of our data away from us. And Ambi will make up for lost time now as he finds his 3rd kill in the opening pick here in a very critical round as Shopify Rebellion looks to hang on for dear life. This is a must-win round for them. Wildcard win, and that is it. It is over. Shopify Rebellion will take their 1 point and go home and prepare for Dark Zero tomorrow. Good news for SR. Baby Shark and Spiker combined for maybe 15 HP, so there is tons of potential for an errant bullet to hit them and gain an even greater numbers advantage than the Rebellion have at the moment. Wildcard will need to sit in relatively sheltered positions as they've now taken out Spoit and find themselves on equal footing.
Yeah, and that was really the pinch player too. Now all 4 of these players on Shopify Rebellion will be coming from the same direction. It's lockers, it's loud, it's going to be obvious. Wildcard need to be ready for this.
Oh my, and maybe a bit too brazen as Shopify Rebellion walk in. Dash finds 3 kills in a row. His reign of terror ended. The young hands of Ambi. Spiker and Baby Shark against Ambi. Ambi finds himself in an unusual position with the diffuser, and he finds safety next to the lockers. But they will swarm him. Baby Shark swimming up to him. This is uncharted waters right now for Shopify Rebellion, as Wildcard could easily win this one. 10 seconds left as Ambi guns down Baby Shark, and Spiker will head to the bomb site. Ambi off of it in a collision course as Ambi gets the quad kill to keep the Rebellion fighting for another round.
Nah, you can't do that. You can't do that on Twitch. We're gonna get banned with net plays that nasty. Jesus, Ambi, ridiculous in the 1v2. Helped get his team into that position as well, shutting down Bay. I was ready to wrap things up. I was closing my notes, Parker. I was saying, great, Bay has just ended this game 8-6. Ambi had other plans. Oh my God, this kid is good. I'm speechless.
And Ambi did it all himself. No supporting cast. Again, the way that this team has played around a player like Ambi way back in the day. And Canadian spoke a little bit about this in one of the timeouts we heard. I want to say it was SI when we got to listen in, and he basically said that we weren't supporting Ambi at all. We were leaving him to do his own thing, and he was dying. He was not living up to his own expectations. We need to play around him better. We need to be quicker. Much of this match has been Ambi and Canadian working together as a duo. Canadian making calls, Ambi powering up off of them and taking no prisoners. Ambi, by my count, should be really close to 20 kills at this point. Of course, we did lose the numbers before the rehost, but 6 for him since coming back. Rexen was at 10 as well. He's up to 4. So high kill tallies for a bunch of these players, but Ambi has really been a cut above on the side of Shopify Rebellion. And that round, with all of the pressure of an entire match on his shoulders, punishing the final 2 players after an incredible 3K from Dash to completely turn the round on its head. We are seeing extraordinary performances from many, many players in this series. And again, what a debut here in stage 2. We've got one more round. If we go the full distance between these teams, one of them will walk home with 2 points. One of them will walk home disappointed.
That opening pick is oh so important. Both these teams know just how critical it is to strike first. Brava had hacked that bulletproof, so Surf's able to close it out, make sure there's no information going to the enemy team. It's the default bomb site for most teams to start up on the top floor. Shopify Rebellion did not choose to do so in around 13, so come back here to the top floor around 15 instead. And it's been very cautious from Wildcard still. They've got a couple of players that are still kind of on that first floor lurking around. They know there's a player down here. It's going to be Canadian, usually over towards east, but it's gone on a bit of a walk because he's now just inside of main lobby, going to be bottom metal very quickly. Runs away. Okay.
There was some anticipation. While you were talking, though, Ambi took quite a beating, lost half of his HP, and Nitro Cell is expended as Rexen goes for the follow-up himself. Spiker was able to remove the explosive, but not the player on the other side of it. What an advantage for Shopify Rebellion it is. It's very short-lived. My goodness. Really sloppy gunplay from Dash. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat there. Shopify Rebellion should have lost another player, but instead they are now clobbering Wildcard, and a team that honestly, through this entire border map, has lived up to the name of Wildcard might just find themselves in the discard pile unless Kansan and Bay are able to muster up an incredible performance. Shopify Rebellion still with 4 players alive. The only one in the ground is Rex, and Ambi's found his 7th kill since we came back and could go as high as 9. Bay will say no thank you. These are the 2 Titans on either side of the field who have collided multiple times in this series. Things a little bit closer now for Wildcard. Jesse. A riveting finish awaits us as Kansan works his way ever so slightly in, finding the Tubarão of Surf, giving his position away. Shopify Rebellion not in a position to follow up. Down goes Surf. Kansan has control of the site, and it's a 2v2. Very limited time remains. Shopify Rebellion will need to wrestle this bomb site away from them, but neither member of Wildcard have the defuse kit. They have the site, but they don't have the objective. Bay is left to flounder as Kansan dies, and time is about to run out on Wildcard's chances. Spoit finishes it before the clock does, but the Rebellion will survive the biggest scare they've had in quite some time as they take it 8-7.
Parker, I'm going to make a big statement here. I'm going to say something maybe controversial. That's the best match of Stage 2 so far.
That was a great game between Shopify Rebellion and Wildcard. The full distance, the 2v2 in the end. And that's a completely different story too. If Kansan just has the defuse kit, had to opt not to get it. I believe it was dropped by Spiker on the AC window, and he just didn't have the time to go get it. That's a tough spot to be in. A tough loss from Wildcard, but when they go back and think about it, I think they'll think they played well in this game, Parker. I mean, I really do think after those first 3 rounds, they were able to lock in. They made some crazy good plays.
Both of these teams showed some real prowess, but it was Shopify Rebellion, the winners today, picking up 2 points. We got a lot more games to go. We'll be back in a moment.
What's your sandwich?
I'm wrapping him.
Nice, reset, force plant.
Let's go, boys.
He's on me, Char.
5 seconds left.
Woo! Good fucking job, guys. Hey, it's okay. We take those OTs. Hey, great
Listen,
composure, guys. I'm proud of you. Good fucking job.
With that being said, I also hate you. Go to
Well,
Discord.
a marathon of a game to kick things off, but an 8-7 win. Shopify Rebellion are able to take it over Wildcard. We have, of course, Rexon standing by for the interview as we get things started here in Stage 2. Rexon, this one was a long one. There's no question about that as we look to bring him in here, hopefully in just a second. There he is. This one was a long one. There's no doubt about that. How are you guys able to hang in there? An up and down matchup. You guys obviously start out so strong. A long rehost. They start coming back. You end up taking the win. What's that journey like for you?
Well, the game was a little longer than it should have been, as you can tell. 8-7 was close. Even when we were down, it's like, okay, we're still down, but we're not out. Like, it's a new round reset. And I think we kept our composure well. And even in rounds where we were playing pretty fast and we lose a pick or 2 to an early, like, you know, they spawn peek or something, we were still able to bring those rounds back through like team play and coordination and almost win them. So a lot of these rounds came down to, there was a couple off the top of my head, like 1v2s, 1v1s. And I mean, a couple of those rounds they won, and sometimes that's how it goes. Even if we played bad, they still played that well. So as I said, just keeping your composure and worrying about the next round, not dwelling on the past.
Yeah, I mean, you guys really came out the gate early on, constantly just trying to dominate those opening kills. And you're right, sometimes it comes down to it doesn't go your way. But when it comes to a map like Border, were you expecting Wildcard to take you guys to that map? I know last stage we saw a little bit of, you know, ups and downs from you guys on Border. Were you expecting it to come out today against Wildcard?
No, honest answer, I didn't even know we were playing Border because I was at a diner. But I mean, Border, I think, is a strong map for us. I think they're also good. I think it's one of their better maps. But I mean, yeah, we had some ups and downs. We've had some close matches with other teams. But I mean, really, I think it's just being confident on 4 to 5 maps and really playing anyone on them.
I want to ask you, one, obviously, congratulations on the win, but I do want to go back to these games being a lot closer than what they need to be. It was kind of the same sentiment that was being throughout Stage 1. Granted, you guys were flawless, but you even said it yourself through multiple of those games. It should have been done faster. We should have won in a far more convincing manner. How do you correct this going now into Stage 2 and hoping, you know, this, obviously, again, you don't want to keep trailing these games on longer than they have to. So the biggest question is, how do you address that?
Well, personally, I believe it's more so nerves. And, like, for example, 1v2, me Dame on customs. I think it was Bay with Boss G, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's keeping your nerves under control, because in that instance, I know, like, if I'm in practice or like level-headed, okay, I need to bait the planner, let the planner die, he's in the swing, I get the trade, we win the round. But because of him telling me, like, hey, cover me, and they're like, heightened sensitive emotions, I swung and I died. So me knowing, like, okay, like I trolled that, or like pretty much just playing the situation correctly. And I think that if we can get that under control, I don't think it's this big issue. Some people make it out. I just more so think it's getting your nerves under control, being calm, and when you're calm, most of the time you'll make the correct play. At least we would.
Absolutely.
Rexon, one final question for you, and this one may be the most important. I know a lot of people in chat want the answer to this, so we'll get serious for a second. Did we see you dry scoop pre-workout before the match?
This time it was not. That was my creatine. I take, my creatine, the dry, or sorry, losing my train of thought. The pre-workout, normally I do that, but I've been having the energy drink, so no dry scoop pre-workout. But if you want,
so you weren't dry
I can do
scooping
it tomorrow if you want.
You weren't dry scooping, but you normally dry scoop, or you're just saying you normally have?
Yes. Normally I do dry scoop, like behind me. Oh, wrong way. Behind me, it's like my pre-workout creatine. So normally I do that, but no. Today it was just creatine, and then tomorrow, if you want, I'll do it for you.
Wow! Thank you for taking us through that
both
journey.
At the same time, I want both hands. One creatine, one pre-workout, all at once.
There's no more smelling
sand,
salts,
bro.
No more smelling salts.
No. That the extreme it's been brought down a little bit.
All right, well, good to know. Thank you so much, Rex, and we will catch you later. Congrats on the win, 8-7 to close it out.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Bye.
Thank you, Rexon. A great interview, as always, with Rexon. He will realize very quickly that he was on his webcam mic the whole time, and he's going to be devastated about that. But it was a great matchup to start, and a long one, as we said, 8-7 OT. Great way to set the tone.
Yeah, and I mean, he's quite happy. I was saying before we went on is just, can they be very happy about going 8-7? Obviously, they expected it to go a lot closer. It's similar to stage 1, where they went 8-7 against Envy, and that was their starter for the stage. And then obviously, we know how the rest of the stage won. So maybe, yeah, it is all just onto nerves that they need to be able to shake up. And finally, they were able to close it out again. Same way like against M80. It came down to the line on border. Canadian had a huge clutch. Same situation with Shopify this round.
I mean, we're talking about big plays as well. I mean, Rexon, I would believe he was 6-0 for, I think, 5 out of those rounds. And then Ambi was just on an absolute tear today. I mean, he had an ace. He had that huge 4K, which realistically could have been the end of the game. I mean, it's, again, this is what you talked about in the beginning. It's off hero plays, big players stepping up in those moments. But then I also think there's moments where, again, I wanted to see Troy come alive here today, getting maybe 1 or 2 kills on some of these rounds, which he did, but then in others, it kind of still felt like he was lacking still in some of those areas where obviously it's first game of the stage, easily can be changed up going forward, but I still want to see more coming out of Troy, at least in that frag department.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly what we highlighted. It really comes down to the entries. I know Rexon isn't statistically an entry, but it comes down to getting those opening kills. Every time SR was getting the opening kill, they'd close rounds out very decisively, because Canadian can IGL off of the advantage, or whenever Canadian died early, he was still able to IGL off of his team's positioning. Now, there was a lot of situations where I'd say when they would lose those clutch situations, if Canadian was focused on himself playing in the clutch situation, it looked like the rest of the players sometimes took matters into their own hands. We saw it. I mean, Rexon was very aware he shouldn't have peaked in that 2v1, but that happens to every single player if Canadian's not there to micromanage. And that's something that we want to see Shopify kind of focus on, to make sure that if Canadian's worried about himself in the current moment, what's Shopify response going to be? What are all the players going to be? Let's think a little bit more off of playing off of each other. It seems like they know the right answer. They just need to put it into practice a little more.
And we said that Spoit and Ambi, some of those players that had been, you could say, micromanaged by Troy in this first stage, but performed really well. EWC, not so much. Ambi was somebody who absolutely popped off this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was insane, the plays that he was making. But then when you realize that the player, Ambi, is the one making it, it's then not too crazy. I mean, he's been an absolute phenomenal pickup for this roster, going all the way back to that start in SI for his birthday, essentially. And then since then, I mean, he's been on an absolute tear. And this round in particular could have went in Wildcard's favor, but Ambi played it flawless here and able to keep them live and pushing into that last map, or in that last round, closing out in 8-7, which, again, I don't think they want to make it that close.
No.
But when you got players like Ambi that can keep it consistent and keep it precise, it's perfect.
Now we're looking at bigger picture, because obviously as a Shopify Rebellion fan, you look at it and you're estimating they're going to dominate within the NA region. So obviously we're looking at it as when they go to the next event, the next major, we want them to be able to have responses if we can't always rely on Ambi, if we can't always rely on Rexon. But that being said, yeah, Ambi had a lights out game. against Wildcard today.
Yeah, and a big win for Shopify, 8-7. What a way to start the second stage of the year. A big way to start our very first day of the stage. But our next one, we get to showcase our NAL champs, the best team in North America, who proved it at EWC. It is SSG and Standby coming up next.